All right, so here, going on with the review, now we're looking at page 3, some more inequalities to do. So we've got Claire made an error solving this inequality here, so we got to find the error. These are really good practice for you because a lot of times these are an error that you might have made yourself. So just go real slow, one step at a time, and see if you can see what she did. So it looks like from the first step to the second step she did -3 on both sides. And that's okay, we can -3 on both sides. And then to go from the second step to the third step, it looks like she divided by -4. And that's okay, we can divide by -4 on both sides. Dividing -4 by -4 gets you 1x. Dividing 20 by -4 gets you -5. That's correct also. So what is the error? The error is that when you divide by a negative, you need to switch the direction of the inequality. I want you to think about that for just a second. Describing the error, just to finish this problem, you would just say, she forgot to flip the inequality, or she should have switched to greater than, something like that. She divided by a negative. It's not an error to divide by a negative, it's an error to forget to switch the inequality. But I just want to really briefly try to get you to understand why that is an error. Let's take two numbers that are on the number line, like 4 and 8. Would everybody agree, I hope you would, that 4 is smaller than 8? I hope you would agree with that. Now I'm going to divide 4 by -2. And I'm going to divide 8 by -2. Is it still true that -2 is less than -4? No. If you think about how your number line is situated, -2 is actually on the right side of -4. So it is not true that the inequality stays the same when you multiply or divide by a negative. Okay? And you can prove it to yourself. Just think about any two numbers and multiply both of them by a negative or divide both of them by a negative. You'll notice that the direction of the inequality needs to change. Okay, number 10. A lot of people see the fraction and just freak out. If you see a fraction, please just take a deep breath. I mean, honestly, on a test, like, take a breath. And then realize that a fraction is just a division problem. When I look at this, I just see a bunch of junk divided by 2. I don't even care what this stuff is. This is just, ignore that for a second. It's something divided by 2. What's the opposite of divided by 2? So you just go times 2 on both sides. Times 2 and divided by 2 cancel. So 7x plus 6. And then we multiply by 2. 6x plus 4. I did 2 times 3x and 2 times 2. Now it's just standard solving stuff. I'm going to subtract 6x from both sides. So 7x plus 6. Take away 6x from that. 6x plus 4. Take away 6x from that. So now I have x plus 6 less than or equal to 4 minus 6. X is less than or equal to -2. There we go. All right, number 11. Now we're looking at two variable. Choose the inequality solution set is represented by this graph. Okay. One way to do this is to just sort of go through process of elimination. And like I noticed, for example, this is a dashed line. Because it's a dashed line, I know that the answer cannot be anything that has a or equal to on it. Then I notice that it's shaded above the line, and so you're thinking greater than. Usually when we're graphing these, if it says y is greater than, then that tells us to shade above, and the greater than says a dashed line. So you might be tempted to choose option C. But if you notice, option C doesn't have the letter y by itself. It has a -3 in front of it. And I just a couple minutes ago spent some time talking about how if you divide by a negative to get a letter by itself, you need to flip the direction of the inequality. So option choice C is a little bit misleading maybe, because it looks like you would shade above it, but because you would have to divide by a negative to get the letter by itself, option C would actually be shading below. So this turns out to be option A. I want to show you a different way to approach it, which is choose a point to test in there. And so I'm going to choose the point 2, comma, -1, because it's on the boundary. No, I don't want to choose a point on the boundary. What am I talking about? I'm going to choose the point 0, 0. We all make mistakes sometimes. So let's try out 0, 0. If I do 0 minus 3 times 0, I do the multiplying first. 0 minus 0 is 0. So let's see which of those options is so far possible. 0 is less than 5. It's also less than or equal to 5. It's not greater than 5. And it's not greater than or equal to 5. So now you have it narrowed down to just those two options, and you choose the one that has just less than because you can see the dashed line boundary. So that's just called testing a solution. All right, the soccer team is selling bags of popcorn for $3 each and lemonade for $2 each. That sounds like $3 popcorn and $2 lemonade, and they must collect more than 120. I just wrote an inequality. 3p plus 2l is greater than 120. When I look at my graph, I can see lemonade is on the y-axis, popcorn is on the x-axis. I could, if I wanted to, switch this to mx plus b form. I'm going to show you a different way. If I just think about 3 times 40 is 120, and 2 times 60 is 120, I can graph this, and I can graph this. How did I do that? What I thought about is, if I only sold popcorn, how much would I need to sell to make 120 bucks? 40 bags, because 40 times 3 is 120. And same thing with lemonade. 60 cups at $2 each, 60 times 2 is 120. Now, if I connect those two dots, all those points in between are other combinations of lemonade and popcorn that sell exactly 120. If I sold more than that line, I'm going to make more than 120. Now the last thing is, for some reason it says you need to make more than 120. So making 120 itself is apparently not good enough. So we go back through and we make a dashed line. Those are all open circles. All right, next one. Last one for this video. Farmers creating a budget for soybeans and wheat. Super relevant for you guys here in Portland. Soybeans cost $200 per acre, so 200 soybeans, $500 wheat, and he wants to spend no more than $100,000. So he has to spend less than, but he could spend equal to $100,000. S stands for acres of soy, and W stands for the acres of wheat. Name one solution to the inequality and explain what it represents in that situation. Here's a really dumb solution to this inequality, but it doesn't break any rules. 0, 0, the farmer plants nothing. If the farmer plants nothing, guess what? He spent less than $100,000 planting stuff. It's kind of a dumb answer. He could plant like 10 of each. There's lots of other solutions. He could plant 5 acres of soy and 15 acres of wheat and still spend less than $100,000. All right, that's it for that video.